Across fields and kitchens, starch begins as sunlight stored in quiet grains. Rice, corn, wheat, and potatoes carry it in pale hidden stores. Inside each seed, tiny granules pack energy for a future sprout. To our eyes, starch looks simple, soft, and almost asleep. But beneath the surface, its sugars are locked in long chains. Those chains resist cold water, ordinary chewing, and hurried preparation. For early people, the problem was not abundance, but access. Heat could swell starch, yet sweetness still needed a quieter helper. Nature had already solved the lock in mouths, seeds, and microbes. When we chew bread slowly, a mild sweetness begins to appear. That first sweetness is alpha-amylase, working before digestion truly begins. Sprouting barley uses related amylases to feed its growing embryo. Molds and bacteria also release amylases into the food around them. They do not swallow starch whole, they soften it outside themselves. Long before enzymes had names, brewers trusted this hidden transformation. Malted grain turned thick mash into fermentable sweetness and flowing liquid. The craft was practical, repeatable, and mysterious for centuries. In the early 1800s, chemists began asking what changed starch. They saw starch pastes thin, sweeten, and behave unlike ordinary mixtures. In 1811, Constantin Kirchhoff showed starch could become sugar. His work used harsh chemistry, not the gentle agent from living grain. Still, it proved that starch held sweetness waiting to be released. The decisive clue came from malt, where life did the same work softly. In 1833, Anselme Payen and Jean-François Persoz studied malt extracts. They separated a substance that rapidly liquefied starch at mild warmth. They called it diastase, from a word meaning separation. Diastase became one of the first enzymes ever deliberately isolated. It helped science imagine catalysts made not of metal, but life. Berzelius soon used such reactions to shape the idea of catalysis. A small biological substance could guide change, yet remain itself. For alpha-amylase, the story then moved from malt houses to industry. Malt extracts were valuable, but they depended on harvests and brewing traditions. In Japan, another tradition kept a powerful amylase partner close. Koji mold had long helped transform rice and grains for fermented foods. Jokichi Takamine recognized that this living craft could serve modern chemistry. In the 1890s, he commercialized Taka-diastase from koji mold. It became a landmark microbial enzyme product beyond the malt field. The enzyme had stepped from natural observation into reliable industrial use. Later scientists learned that amylases were not all the same. Some trimmed starch from the ends, releasing sugars in a regular rhythm. Alpha-amylase was different. It cut within the chain itself. That inner cutting made thick starch quickly loosen and flow. Under a microscope, its work feels less like force than fitting. The enzyme cradles a starch chain in a tiny shaped groove. A water molecule is placed where one bond can open. One long strand becomes shorter fragments, easier for life to use. The enzyme releases them, then turns gently toward another chain. It is not burned up in the act of helping. This simple movement explains why alpha-amylase appears in so many places. In baking, it helps flour release sugars that yeast can taste. Those sugars support fermentation, browning, and the aroma of fresh bread. In brewing, it continues an ancient partnership between grain and fermentation. Starch becomes smaller, fermentable pieces that yeast can carry onward. In starch processing, alpha-amylase helps heavy pastes become manageable streams. Those streams can become sweeteners, fermentation feedstocks, and useful ingredients. In textile mills, it removes starch sizing from newly woven cloth. The fibers emerge ready for dyeing, printing, and softer handling. In papermaking, amylases help control starch where fibers must bond. They help water, pulp, and surface treatments behave with greater balance. In laundry, amylases help loosen starchy stains from everyday meals. A trace of dinner can return to water rather than remain cloth. The same principle supports animal nutrition and plant-based fermentation. Everywhere, the enzyme asks less heat, less harshness, and less waste. Its history stretches from sprouting barley to carefully guided biotechnology. Alpha-amylase reminds us that industry can borrow nature's patience. In each open starch chain, sunlight finds another useful beginning. And the future may grow cleaner by listening to such small workers. At Enzymes Bio, we're a small team of scientists and biotech enthusiasts. We bring the world's enzymes onto one platform so startups and labs skip the procurement maze. A greener chemistry for the years ahead. Learn more at Enzymes Bio.